Hello all, I'm Wadabra. Welcome back to Adastra. In the previous episode, Marco and Neferu's efforts to blackmail the shifty boy Alex pay off. First, Virginia is able to gain access to all the security footage from the staged third trial and store it in a secure location. Second, she collects all the documents related to the botched investigation into the death of the previous emperor and stores it in the same location. And third, Marco is able to delete his profile from the archives so he can't be targeted by the palace security system again. Yay him! Unfortunately, while he's connected to the archives, he's also given a scary vision involving a dagger, lots of blood, and Amicus crying from the anguish of loss. Afterward, he's told by the monitor that this fate can be avoided so long as he submits himself to the benevolent will of the parents. So yeah, totally not a big ol' red flag there. Marco talks about all of this with Amicus during his next visit with him in the dungeons, and Amicus, after needing a little convincing that Marco has indeed been talking to the parents, assures him that the parents are nothing but benevolence and goodwill. Marco does try to push back against that notion, but Amicus doubles down on his beliefs and pleads for Marco to listen to the parents, insisting that they will help him. Later, Marco runs into Alex, who seems quite annoyed with Marco's recently revealed Chemian citizenship. And since Alex is much better at playing these kinds of games than Marco winds up giving up more information than he's able to get from the cat, and once again fails to ascertain Alex's motives. Marco then returns to Neferu's room and finds our saddest sassy gay boy drunkenly dancing his little heart out. Because, as it turns out, Neferu has had a chance to take a look at those documents Virginia had retrieved from the archives and discovered a few pieces of upsetting information. First, that the previous emperor's ship had crashed due to some sort of malicious software that had been installed while it was docked in the palace. Second, that the investigation was promptly called off by none other than Cato himself. And third, every single person involved in the investigation has mysteriously disappeared shortly thereafter. So yeah, if I were in Neferu's position, I'd be drinking myself into a stupor too. That's the recap. Do me a solid and like and share this video to help me appease the almighty YouTube algorithm. And do us both a favor by hitting that subscribe button, damn it. And as always, content warnings and a link to my Patreon can be found in the description below. Let's get started. I toss and turn most of the night, even while Neferu snores loudly in his own bed. I go over what I might be able to say to Cassius, in case things go wrong for whatever reason. I find that difficult to do, though, especially considering how angry and unpredictable the wolf can be sometimes. I manage to get maybe a couple hours of sleep. But as soon as the sun starts shining through the opening in the roof, I'm up and ready for Virginia to come get me. That doesn't happen until about an hour later, and Neferu only lifts his head for a moment when the wolf enters, before groaning and dropping it back to the pillow. I'm hoping that he doesn't remember what happened yesterday, for his own sake. The amount of anticipation in the air is almost too much for me to handle as I follow Virginia to the throne room. It's a feeling that I haven't felt since the trials, since when I thought I was about to be able to fly back home. Now, though, it's the anticipation that I'll be able to get Amicus out of the dungeons. We pause at the door, Virginia glancing at me.
Remember, speak only if absolutely necessary. This is of the utmost importance.
I nod silently. I get the feeling that she hadn't wanted me to come, but Neferu probably insisted. The wolf reaches out and presses the panel, opening the door. I follow her in and immediately spot Cassius on his throne, still on his little booster seat, but there's someone else here too. We'd chosen today because Cato still hadn't returned from his trip, thus leaving Cassius alone. Now, though, Alex is here, kneeling beside the throne, his head on the armrest, while Cassius pets him, his other paw occupied with a tablet-like device. He glances up.
Ah, sister. And Marco? What was it you needed?
Virginia is silent until we stop at the base of the steps. I come to a stop just behind her, to her left. Cassius narrows his eyes as he looks down at us, probably realizing that this is no ordinary visit. Meanwhile, Alex just stares at us inquisitively, looking innocent and oblivious, as he always tries to.
Brother, I have something very, very important to discuss with you.
Cassius regards her for a moment, then glances at me.
Why is he here?
It involves him. It involves all of us, actually.
Cassius frowns deeply, expression growing more and more sour.
And what is it, Virginia?
Virginia takes a deep breath.
Cassius, you must abdicate.
It takes Cassius a moment for that to sink in, but when it does, his eyes widen and his nostrils flare, leaning back in his throne like he's just been slapped.
Excuse me?
I wonder briefly if this is the best way to go about telling Cassius that we're about to try and take the throne from him. I look around, checking to see if there are any drones nearby that he might use to blast us with.
Cassius, we all know that this is illegitimate. You must consider.
Enough! I will hear no talk of this. From my own sister, no less. Leave at once.
The young wolf is shaking in his seat, wide-eyed, ears flat.
Well, you must hear it.
I must not. I've followed every protocol. I'm in my rightful place. Leave now, or I will have the drones escort you.
Alex is sitting up straight now, staring at us, his ears perked, and I kind of wish that we could have had him leave the room. But Virginia remains calm, simply gazing back up at Cassius with an almost stoic look.
Brother, you must hear it, because we have proof of your deception.
Cassius seems to have recovered from his initial shock, though he's still trembling a bit, chest heaving for breath.
What proof?
Virginia takes a deep breath.
You know that we already know about the staging, but we have footage of the third trial. All of it.
Cassius stays quiet, unsure of what to say.
We have contacts in Adastra that will release it to the public tomorrow evening.
Cassius swallows hard.
I will close the news channels.
Not only to the news channels, but in portable formats as well that may be copied and spread. You will not be able to stop all of it.
Cassius opens his mouth, then closes it, then opens it again, then closes it. He didn't see this coming at all. Finally, his shoulders drop, and he stares at the floor.
Virginia, how could you do this to me?
Virginia frowns, actually looking a bit sad.
How could you take the throne in such a dishonest manner? Mother taught you better.
Do not speak of Mother.
Cassius's response is instant and angry, before he deflates again. The silence stretches out for a while, before Virginia once again speaks up.
I know you, Cass. I know you're an honest, honorable wolf. I know you don't want the emperorship like this.
Cassius goes on, staring off into space. Do you even want to be emperor, Cassius? Virginia looks sharply over at me, but I ignore her for now, looking right up at Cassius. He turns his gaze slowly to me.
What sort of question is that?
remember when we saw the parents together? Cassius instantly bristles, his ears turning a deep red. You remember what they said, right?
I don't remember.
Sure. Anyway, you know what the parents think, what they want? Just listen to them. They only want what's best for this empire. Cassius closes his eyes, taking a deep breath.
Why are you doing this to me?
He says it quietly, and I'm not sure if he's talking to me, Virginia, or the both of us.
Because we also want what's best for the Empire, Cassius. And that involves a legitimate emperor that rightfully sits upon the throne.
I can't just abdicate. How many emperors have ever done that? The humiliation would be too great.
For the first time, I hear some resignation in Cassius's voice, and I actually do believe that he doesn't want this emperorship anymore. We can make up any story you want, Cassius. It doesn't have to be a shameful thing. We can make it seem honorable, even though I think it already is if you do step down. Again, Cassius is silent, and I can only imagine all of the things that are going through his head right now. He knows that the release of the footage will destroy his image, cause unrest, probably to the point that he'd never be able to recover if he remained on the throne. He already knows that he's been beaten. Alex, meanwhile, continues to sit at his side, just staring at the two of us. I'm surprised he hasn't said anything at all, and again, I'm not sure whose side he's on.
Also, you need to demote Kato from advisor. Otherwise, he will become acting emperor again.
Cassius looks sharply at us. We know he's behind all of this. That you're a puppet, Cassius. Cassius bristles, and Virginia shoots me another warning look. But you're still the Emperor. You have complete power over your advisor. You can easily cut those strings. Cassius looks about ready to say something, to protest, but again he slumps down, just glaring at his knees.
That would automatically make Amicus Emperor.
It's not a question, just a defeated statement. We don't say anything.
I suppose he was always destined to be that. I was a fool to think I could make this work.
Virginia's ears perk up, and I feel a swooping feeling in my chest, like I've just missed a step. Alex just looks up at Cassius, frowning. Cassius shakes his head.
I'll need to think. You said tomorrow evening?
The 14th hour.
Cassius sighs, then nods.
I see. I will make an announcement tomorrow after breakfast. I need to meditate.
Certainly.
Cassius drops his paw to his lap and picks up the glass tablet again. And just like that, we're dismissed. As Virginia turns to go, I quickly speak up. Cassius? Can I see Amicus again? He rolls his eyes.
Gods! Yes, in fact.
He looks up at the ceiling.
Come, set Marco's access to the dungeons as unrestricted. He'll be free by tomorrow anyway, I'm sure.
Thank you. I bow because it feels like the right thing to do, but Cassius only grunts in response. I then quickly follow Virginia out into the hallway, almost skipping with relief and excitement.
Holy shit! That was easy!
I whisper to the she-wolf, and she maintains that stoic look.
It really was, wasn't it? It seems that Cassius isn't enjoying his position on the throne after all.
Did he think it would be easy?
I think he never looked past beating Amicus. Now that he has, well...
I shake my head. If that was his only reason, then he deserves this.
Well, I don't believe it was his only reason. He simply didn't prepare himself beyond the trials.
Virginia side-eyes me.
And don't get too excited just yet. Nothing is final until Cassius says the words.
Yeah, but it looks like he's definitely going to.
It does, yes, but remain careful and vigilant. Also,
Virginia pauses as we reach a branch in the hallway, where we would normally part ways so that I could go to the dungeons. I stop and look up at her, stepping from one foot to the other, eager to tell Amicus the news.
You've noted my loyalty to Amicus over the past week, yes?
Yeah?
At the very least, this would be deserving of some kind of official position, don't you think?
You want to be chief advisor, right?
Yes, and you are very close to him.
I'll get him to make it happen. The wolf almost looks shocked. I don't know why, though. I'd assumed this was always part of the plan.
Thank you, Marco.
Of course. I'll see you later today. I leave the wolf standing there, trying not to walk too fast on my way to the dungeons. Amicus is shocked when I tell him the news, obviously. But like Virginia, he tells me to stay cautious. Anything can happen between now and when Cassius makes the announcement. And we're definitely not guaranteed an abdication during said announcement. Either way, I promise Amicus to come back down first thing in the morning to tell him the news. I leave in good spirits, and I catch Amicus's tail wagging more than it usually does. We might actually be at the end of this nightmare.
Marco. Marco.
Huh? I stare at the ceiling, wondering for a moment where I am.
Marco, your presence is requested at breakfast.
What? I try to focus, the memories of last night slowly coming back to me. I'd returned to Virginia and Neferu having a drink to celebrate our tentative victory. I'd joined them, and maybe had too much. It's a bit blurry, but the splitting headache is evidence enough. Then I remember that calm woke me up. Wait, breakfast?
Yes, your presence is requested immediately.
I hadn't had breakfast with the family since Amicus was imprisoned. Why would they request me now? That gets me nervous, knowing what's about to happen today. I look over to Neferu sleeping in his bed, his fur uncharacteristically mussed up, just like yesterday morning. Quickly, I jump out of bed, throwing on my robes and trying to straighten out my hair as I hurry out toward the dining room. I wonder if maybe Amicus is already out of the dungeons. Maybe he's the one that requested my presence. But as I reach the door, I realize that's not the case. Virginia, Cassius, and Cato sit on their beds while Alex kneels in front of Cassius. As I walk in, I can immediately tell that something's off. The air is tense. I come to a gradual stop, unsure of what to do as the rest of them glance up at me.
Ah, is that Marco? How nice of you to join us. Would you care to serve us our food and drink, please?
Something is very wrong here. Did Cassius tell Cato about what happened? There's not much else I can do except walk over to kneel beside Alex, reaching out to begin serving the wolves. It's completely silent as all of them just watch me, fumbling around with the food. Finally, Virginia breaks the silence.
Cato, is there a reason you called us all to breakfast?
Cato turns his head in Virginia's direction.
Can't I enjoy a meal with the royal siblings? I simply wanted to discuss my trip with you.
Oh, I see. It's just been so long since we've had a scheduled breakfast.
It may be a good habit to get back into. Wouldn't you agree, Emperor Cassius? Oh, yes, definitely, Cato. How was your trip? Wonderful. I had the pleasure of visiting Adrote. Being the entertainment capital of Adastra, I had such a good time observing the plays, despite my inability to observe.
Cato starts laughing, loudly, and I can tell why everyone's on edge. This isn't like Cato at all. I set a plate out for Cato, while Alex does the same for Cassius, and while he's working on Virginia's plate, Cato shifts.
Marco, could you hand us all our goblets? I am absolutely parched.
I had noticed that the goblets had already been set out in front of each wolf, already filled with wine. Carefully, I hand Cato his goblet, then turn and reach for Cassius's.
Fear not. These are the events that shall follow.
I blink and notice Cassius staring at me, raising an eyebrow. I hold out the goblet and my fingers twitch, but I keep a stubborn grip. I shake my head and push the goblet into his paw. I'm about to grab Virginia's, but Alex has already finished her plate and hands her her goblet as well. For a while, the wolves eat and drink in silence. At least Virginia and Cassius do. I notice Cato not touching his food at all, simply watching the rest of us. Cassius lets out a loud cough. Alex sets a paw on his leg in concern.
Sorry, something's in my throat.
He takes another drink of his wine.
Keep your mind and heart open, great ape. You shall receive guidance.
My vision flashes, and the tension somehow builds, and I know now that something terrible is about to happen.
So, Cassius, I heard you have an announcement to make this morning.
The entire room freezes as the wolves stop eating, and Alex stops serving. I sit there on my knees, trying to keep my breathing even, trying to deal with the feeling like I have voices in my head, and with Cato apparently discovering our plan at the same time. Cassius finally speaks, or tries to. He coughs again, harder this time. I notice him starting to shake, and Alex again puts a paw on his leg.
Cassius? Cassius, what's wrong? Yes, what's wrong, Cassius? Don't you have a speech to give this morning? You might have to postpone it if you have a cough.
Cassius suddenly sits up, trembling. He stares at Cato, wide-eyed, disbelieving, one paw moving to his throat.
Cassius!
He turns to Alex, reaching out a paw to him, which the cat catches.
I can't breathe.
Cassius wheezes as he looks down into his goblet. Then he suddenly spasms, curling over his stomach before another violent tremor takes him, and he arches out onto the bed, screaming. It's a hideous sound, full of agony. It's so sudden, I'm left to just stare in shock, still on my knees. Virginia stands up, moving around her bed to get closer to Cassius. Meanwhile, Alex screams as well, staring in horror at Cassius.
Cass! Cass, what is it? What happened?
Cassius just writhes under him, even as Alex tries to hold him down. I notice his mouth foaming, red from the wine, the goblet still held in his paw before he drops it, spilling it to the bed and floor.
Cass!
Alex's voice is filled with despair, probably realizing at the same time I do that Cassius has been poisoned, that he might be dying.
Oh dear, are you cramping, Cassius? Perhaps you ate too fast.
The hair rises on the back of my neck as I sense Kato sitting behind me. He'd found out about our plan, and he'd put a stop to it just like that.
Kato, this was too far. Was it the wine?
I almost don't register what Alex just said, but that's when I feel Kato get up behind me. In a few steps, he's standing over Alex and Cassius before he swings a paw hard into Alex's face. It sends the small cat flying so far that he's thrown up against the wall. He crumples there, unmoving. Virginia ducks when this happens, but bravely moves forward, grabbing Cassius and turning him over onto his stomach. For a moment, I think Kato is going to do the same to her, but he seems to get himself under control.
Was it the wine, then? Well, who served it?
He looks around inquisitively, even while Virginia sticks her fingers into Cassius's mouth, shoving them deep until the screaming wolf lets out a retch. Kato's eyes settle on me.
What did you put in his drink, Simeon?
I stay there on my knees, dumbfounded.
Well, I suppose we'll have to investigate, won't we?
Then there's a spattering sound as Cassius vomits up his breakfast, tinged red from the wine. Virginia stubbornly continues to gag him, forcing out every little bit that she can.
Come, send a medical ship from Adastra City. Tell them the Emperor has been poisoned.
Yes, Virginia.
Kato looks down at me. Then, before I can move, he reaches out and grabs up my arm. I've felt the power of a wolf before, main one being Amicus, of course, but this is different. It's like he's made of stone. Kato starts pulling me toward the door, and every single step feels like my arm is about to be yanked out of its socket. As Kato marches out into the hallway, I grab at his arm with my other hand, trying to relieve the pressure somehow. The wolf stares straight ahead, ignoring me, even as I try to pull away. I can walk. I grit my teeth, my hand already numb. I look left and right, trying to figure out how I might get away. There's no chance for that, though, as I realize we've reached Amicus's room. Suddenly, I find myself on the floor as the wolf violently throws me into the room.
I suggest you stay there. You have no means of escape anyway. I'll be back to discuss things with you.
There's some strange humor in his voice with that last part, and before I can even look back, the door shuts, and I hear another sound. a click. I sit in Amicus's room in stunned silence for a long time. I still haven't been able to comprehend the series of events that have just unfolded. All I can piece together was that Alex, for whatever reason, had tipped Cato off as to what we were planning. I suppose the cat hadn't expected Cato to use such drastic measures, judging by his reaction, but he'd wanted to put a stop to our plans just the same. I don't bother myself with trying to figure out Alex's motives anymore, though. Instead, I'm left to sit here and wonder if there's anything I can possibly do to get out of this. I soon find out that the clicking sound was the door locking. I suppose that means Cato is the acting emperor again, with Cassius either incapacitated or even dead. I ask Com about Cassius's health, but he only tells me that that information is not available to him. So I wait, sitting on the couch for hours, wondering if the next time the door slides open, it'll be my death. These thoughts become too much for me, and I have to get up to walk around, trying hard not to hyperventilate. Maybe Neferu will be able to do something. He must have heard about what's happened by now. Unless Cato did something to him as well. With a deep breath, I push past the curtain and out onto the balcony. It's already late afternoon, but that's not what catches my attention. Instead, it's the smoke rising over the city, the sun shining behind it all to give it a strange red glow. I stare, wondering what possibly could have happened in the short time between this morning and now. Com?
Yes, Marco.
Why is there smoke over at Adastra City? There's a pause.
Here's what I found. At approximately the 11th hour, Cato proclaimed himself Emperor of Adastra, shortly after Emperor Cassius was poisoned by a child pet. Cato then dissolved the triumvirate and assumed absolute control of the empire. There are destructive riots in all 7 major cities.
Is Cassius alive?
That information is not available to me, Marco.
I sigh and stare down at the water, feeling sick. I wonder how much of this is my fault. At least a little bit, if not all of it, for just being here in the first place. And now that Cato's framing me, I'm going to die. My vision blurs with tears before one drops down into the sloshing lake below me. And then I remember. I deleted my profile from Com's database. I try to remember what I was told about how exactly it works. Something to do with the AI's security system. While he might be able to deduce what room I'm in based on my voice, he should be blind to my exact location. That would mean leaving the boundaries of the palace shouldn't alert anything. Maybe if I experimentally stick an arm over the railing, then a leg, and before I know it, I'm on the other side of the balcony, the lake sloshing below me. I think about what I can do. I could swim for the shore, make a run for Adastra City, and maybe find someone to help me. Maybe one of the contacts that Neferu and Virginia keep talking about. I could also just hide somewhere, maybe even on the island until things settle down a bit. But I already know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to leave the palace. I'm going to find a way back in. I need to get Amicus. I need to tell him what happened and figure out a way to fall back on our last resort. My stomach twists at the idea, but I know that we're out of choices now. With that, I look down at the water and let go. I plunge into the water with a splash, the cold taking my breath away in an instant. Immediately, I realize the mistake of jumping into the lake with a heavy robe. I'm able to kick out of the loose-fitting garment within a few seconds, though, and I start swimming around the edge of the balcony toward the shore. It's not that far, but I start to worry as I feel my arms and legs burn from the strain. And even though the beach is right in front of me, it seems to take longer than it should for my feet to touch ground. Just as I feel my limbs start to give out, I feel the sandy bottom of the lake against my toes. I gasp with relief, struggling through the deeper end of the shallows before stumbling to my hands and knees, forcing myself to move forward until I reach the beach. Even now, in this moment of desperation, I have to lay out in the sand for a moment, gasping for breath as I feel my numbed limbs come slowly back to life. I suppose all the anxiety and no food all day has left me feeling weak. Finally, I realize how exposed I am out here, how easy it would be for someone to see me from the gardens, or even from the windows of the palace. So with a grunt, I force myself to roll over and start crawling for the tree line in the gardens, so that I can at least have some cover. As I crouch there in just my underwear, still trying to catch my breath, I realize how quiet it is out here. Again, it's a striking contrast to how violently things had changed just hours ago. Finally, after a deep breath, I start pushing my way through the gardens, walking through the foliage rather than using the paths. I doubt anyone's taking a garden stroll considering what's happened, but the one thing I've learned is that no one's predictable here. So I try to keep hidden, using the large exotic-looking plants as cover before leaping across paths and ducking into the plant life again. As I get closer to the palace, I try to think about how I'm going to do this. With any luck, no one will actually be in the palace. It would make sense after what happened. But if anyone is in the palace, I'll just have to hope they aren't Kato. There's also the problem of actually getting Amicus out of the dungeons. While I might be blind to calm, Amicus definitely isn't. I need to get to Neferu. I just have to hope that something hasn't happened to him too. So, as I come up to the palace entrance, I look around, the quiet starting to become unnerving. I don't see anyone, so, swallowing hard, I jog through the entrance of the palace. The cool air of the hallway hits my damp skin and makes me shiver, both from the cold and the tension. I'm sure to keep close to the walls, always looking ahead to a doorway or pillar that I can duck behind in case I see someone. Luckily, that doesn't happen, and I'm more and more convinced that no one is actually here. Before I know it, I'm coming up on the hall that holds Neferu's room. My breathing quickens as I get closer to the door, knowing that I'll feel a lot better if I can just have some guidance. I've been here for a while, and I've gotten used to the way of things, but I'm completely out of my element now. I make it to the door and reach out, pressing the panel to slide it open. The room is empty. I stare for a moment, as if doing that will make the jackal magically appear back in his bed, where I last saw him. Then I see something on the floor. Green shards of shattered glass, wine bottles knocked from the table to the floor. An ominous feeling starts to blossom in my chest as I note the purplish-red stains amongst the glass, the spilled wine dried from how long it's been there. I swallow again to wet my throat, looking to the ceiling, about to call out to Calm and ask for Neferu's location before stopping myself. I don't know if actually alerting Calm to my location is a good idea. I'm pretty sure the security portion of the AI is separate from the rest of Calm, but I don't want to chance it. So I stand there for a moment, unsure of what to do now. I could go around the palace looking for the jackal, but then, seeing the glass, knowing what's happened, I'm just denying what's obvious here. I just have to hope that he's okay, wherever he's been taken. I lean against the frame of the door for a moment, trying to think of what to do next. I could look for Virginia, but I have no idea where her room might be. Besides, if the state of Neferu's room is anything to go by, I wouldn't be surprised if she's been taken somewhere against her will as well. There's really no other choice but to go into the dungeons, tell Amicus about what's happened, then maybe he'll know what to do. Just as I'm turning to go back out into the hall, though, I hear footsteps. I quickly draw back into the room, reaching up to the panel to shut the door again. Before I do, though, I hear something else. The sound of muttering in a very familiar voice. I linger just inside the room, listening as the voice draws closer.
Oh dear! Oh, Galen! This is too much! Too much!
I grit my teeth, listening as the cat comes closer, sounding like he's alone. I suddenly make up my mind as to what I'm going to do next.
I'm going to be killed! I'm going to be killed! What was I thinking?
At that moment, the cat passes the doorway. He's got his paws up to the sides of his face, too busy staring at the ground to even notice me. He's close enough that all I have to do is reach out and grab him by the strap of his robe before yanking him into the room as hard as I can. Immediately, the cat shrieks, the sound bending comically with the force of my tug. I swing him around toward the middle of the room before turning around to quickly shut the door. Alex is still yelling as he tumbles to the ground, rolling several times before coming to a stop next to the shattered bottles. He curls up there, covering his face as he cowers on the ground.
Wait! Wait! I'm sorry for whatever it is that I did!
The cat continues to grovel before finally peeking through his paws to look up at me. He goes quiet, though he remains fetal, as if deciding if he should still be scared or not. Suddenly, he seems to make up his mind and quickly stands, brushing off imaginary dust as he fixes his face into one of bland disinterest.
Oh, Marco, I thought you might be someone else. My apologies.
I glare.
What reason did you have for grabbing me so roughly?
No. No more bullshitting from you. What the hell is going on? The cat finally stops fidgeting and faces me, though he doesn't make eye contact, staring at the door behind me instead.
Well, I'm sure you already know that, don't you? I'm surprised Kato let you out, to be honest.
Something about Alex's demeanor, not only the way he's acting now, but the way he's been acting for the past month, gets to me in that moment. I step forward suddenly, and though I want to hit him, I settle with just giving him a hard shove in the chest that sends him stumbling back with a noisy slapping of his sandals on the stone floor. What the fuck, Alex? He windmills his arms, trying to catch his balance, and when he finally does, he brings his paws up to his chest, his ears pinned back and claws unsheathed. I don't know if Alex is any good at fighting, but I'd rather not get raked by those things, so I hold off on giving him another shove. Besides, he's looking scared again, staring at me wide-eyed.
Don't touch me!
I grit my teeth, forcing myself not to do it again. Then tell me what it is that you're doing. Why did you do this?
What?
This time I step forward and raise my fist threateningly, and immediately the cat covers his face, cowering. I realize then that Alex probably doesn't have any fighting skills at all, that he might actually be a coward rather than just pretending to be one. This realization cools my desire to really hurt the cat. Instead, I just wait until Alex lowers his paw, looking at me with fear. I guess that's a good thing. Amicus had told me in the past that the few sapient primates in the Alexios are really only known for a few things, one being that they can't swim, and the other being their incredible strength. I suppose it's a good reputation to have, even if it's not true for humans, but Alex wouldn't know that. I take another threatening step forward. Tell me!
All right!
I'm surprised by the cat's sudden exclamation, his eyes screwed shut as he raises his paw to his head fur, tugging at it in distress.
I'll tell you whatever it is you want if you just leave me alone. I'm tired of this goddamn palace and psychopathic wolves and half-developed children.
I ignore that jab at me, staring at the cat, waiting.
I'll probably be deported soon anyway, if not executed.
The cat's voice catches in his throat, and he raises a paw to his mouth, seemingly about to cry again. He really is scared, and that gives me an idea. Listen, I'm trying to help Amicus to his rightful place on the throne. Maybe if you help me out, and Amicus does become emperor, I can work something out for you. You know how close the two of us are. I wait as he tries to gather himself, clasping his paws together before simply looking at the ground. He doesn't say anything though, so I sigh. Why did you tell Cato about our plan? Alex echoes my sigh, looking away off to the side.
There's a lot of Alexios politics that you wouldn't understand, Marco.
Well, simplify it for me then. I might be half-developed, but I think I'm starting to get the hang of how things work around here.
And if I tell you, you'll help me leave this cursed moon?
I grit my teeth.
Yes.
Alex side-eyes me before shaking his head.
I became a pet for a single reason, not for ambassadorial or Adastra Amorpha relations, not even to gather intelligence. I mean, originally that was my purpose, but I became close to Cassius over the course of several official meetings and dinners. My department took notice and altered my assignment.
All right, then what are you here for now? Alex takes a deep breath and looks me in the eye.
Chaos.
I wait, but that's all the cat says. I frown at him. You're here to create chaos? Alex's voice suddenly becomes monotonous.
An unstable government creates an unstable society. Progress is stalled, and outward endeavors turn inward. The society worries less about what is happening outside their borders, while becoming more concerned with their own issues.
It's like he's reciting something that he's heard many times before. Thinking about it, the explanation seems to have some reason to it. Alex's seemingly senseless decisions, shifting alliances, and generally odd behavior could be explained by this. He's only here to make things more difficult for the wolves to integrate back into the Alexios, to prevent them from progressing out of this technological and economic slump they're currently in. He's not just against me, Amicus, Cassius, or even Cato, but rather all of us at once. I think about the billowing smoke over Adastra City, what's probably happening to dozens of cities right now, and I suddenly have an overwhelming feeling of disgust for the cat in front of me. A lot of things have happened on this moon that bothered me, but this particular act of sabotage is probably the worst. Just something about how careless it is, not knowing what will even happen, just that it will hurt the Empire, the people. Alex sees the look on my face and quickly takes a step back, looking away.
I understand that it may seem harsh, but it is my duty to Amorpha and the Galaxias as a whole to keep us safe from Adastra. If you knew the history...
I assume you started the rumors about the triumvirates, then pinned it on me?
I may have started the rumors, but I never implicated you.
But you knew that would happen. Alex opens his mouth, then shuts it, looking away again. And after I woke up in the gardens, told you about the doctor, you probably told Kato about our relationship then, too. Alex frowns deeply, taking another step back, looking almost like a child that got caught doing something wrong. I feel my face grow hot, not really confident anymore that I'll be able to hold myself back from caving this cat's face in. Maybe later. This isn't important right now, even if this creature in front of me is responsible for half my troubles, if not all of them. Where is Neferu, or Virginia? Alex looks surprised for a moment at the sudden shift in conversation.
Well, Virginia is to be married to Kato later today.
My stomach lurches at that, but before I can even start to comprehend what that means, Alex goes on.
As far as Neferu, well, don't you know?
I've been locked in Amicus's room all day. I don't know anything.
Ah, well, Neferu is scheduled to be executed, I think.
What? When?
I'm not completely sure. I woke up alone in the dining room and saw it on the news channels.
No, when is he being executed?
I don't know. It was going to be sometime today.
But it hasn't happened yet, right?
I don't know.
Calm. I cut Alex off, not caring anymore about alerting Calm to my location.
Yes, Marco.
Has Neferu been executed? There's a pause. For a moment, all I can hear is my heartbeat hammering in my ears, and for a surreal moment, I feel like I'm going to pass out, and so I have to square my stance to make sure I don't go falling over. The pause seems longer than normal, like Calm is having trouble finding the information that I asked for. Then,
here's what I found. The execution of Neferu, the pharaoh's second son, is to take place in the royal amphitheater on the 14th hour, for crimes of espionage and conspiracy to murder Emperor Cassius. The execution will be broadcast live on all public.
How much time until the 14th hour?
14 minutes and 31 seconds.
Shit! What the hell am I supposed to do? That's not enough time at all. Even if I can get to Amicus, I can't get him out in time before...
The cat.
I turn my eyes on Alex, and he immediately backs away again, trembling. Can you get Amicus out of the dungeons? In that moment, I almost slap him, but I stubbornly force my shaking hands to stay at my sides. Can you fucking get him out or not?
I think so. Cassius gave me almost unlimited access to Calm's security.
My heart leaps in my chest. Then let's go down there and get him the hell out. I turn to the door, but notice Alex is still frozen in the same place. The look on my face makes him cringe again.
Yes, but you won't let him in prison or execute me if I do?
Alex, I will kill you right now if you don't fucking do what I tell you. The cat jumps and yelps as I scream at him, scrambling to head out the door with me hot on his heels. The cat was at least right about one thing. I would never be able to be a diplomat, if that's what he really is. I follow as closely to the cat as possible, practically stepping on his heels. Alex is clearly aware of this as his ears twitch back and forth nervously, trying to inconspicuously glance back at me every now and then. Halfway to the dungeons, though, the PSA system crackles over our heads.
Citizens of Adastra, please prepare for an imperial address by Emperor Cato.
Alex looks back, but I force him to keep going with some prodding in his back, praying that maybe this won't have to do with the execution, or that Cato might be canceling it altogether. Of course, that's not the case.
Citizens, it is a monumentous day in the long history of our glorious moon.
I shove at Alex's back again. Just run! Alex does as he's told, although it's still not as fast as I'd like him to go.
After 10,000 years, we are finally choosing our own path. We are taking control of our destiny.
I'm beginning to realize that, after waiting for so long, unsure of what my own destiny might be, it's going to be decided today, no matter what the outcome might be.
And that begins with showing our fellow siblings that we will no longer tolerate their belittling, their false sense of superiority, their arrogance.
Alex and I come up on the door that leads down to the dungeon, and the cat awkwardly starts climbing down the ladder, having a great deal of trouble with his robes.
And we especially will not tolerate spies, which I have kneeling before me as I speak.
Hurry! I yell at the cat as I start sliding down the ladder myself, almost knocking him off as we reach the ground at almost the same time.
The offerer of false alliances, the whore of jackals, the flower of Chemia.
I follow the stumbling cat through the musty hall of the dungeon, never having been in this deep before, considering my meetings with Amicus had always taken place near the entrance. We reach a cell door, and Alex presses a paw to a panel on the wall. A beige marble slab rather than the more glossy black panels above. It opens to a small, cramped cell, a bed in one corner, a sink, toilet, and tiny shower in another, and what looks like a desk near the door. Amicus is in the bed, curled up on his side, facing away from me.
Amicus?
I shove roughly past Alex, sending him to smack face first against the doorframe with a yelp. The big wolf starts to stir before I reach him and throw my arms over him. I feel him jump underneath me, and I know I've just woken him up. He turns his head to look at me.
Marco?
He sits up against my hugging, automatically wrapping his arms around me.
Wait, how did you...
He looks over my shoulder.
Alex?
Amicus! Cato is emperor. He's about to execute Neferu. You need to. I choke on my words, only now feeling the weight of the information I'm just dropping on Amicus right now. You need to challenge him in combat. I surprise myself as I suddenly start to cry, realizing my own words as I say them. In that moment, I can see all the confusion, bewilderment, and shock in my wolf's face, his mouth hanging open just slightly. He probably wants to ask me a million questions, but in that space of a few seconds, I see his expression set into one of serious determination.
All right. Where is he?
The sudden shift from confusion to a sense of duty and confidence actually stops my crying, even as the first tears spill over. The amphitheater. It's happening right now. For just a moment, the wolf continues to hold me, wipes a tear away with his thumb, then gently moves me aside as he swings his legs over the edge of the bed.
Alex, can I leave the dungeon?
Come? Let Amicus leave the dungeons, please?
Alex looks up at the ceiling, clearly unsure of what he's doing. At that moment, I suddenly realize that Cato isn't being broadcast down here. I don't even know if the execution has been carried out yet, or not.
Shall I remove Amicus from the prisoner list, Alex?
Yes.
It is done.
Amicus hops off the bed.
All right, we must move.
This time, Alex is knocked on his ass as Amicus practically steamrolls him on his way out the door. I jump over the cat as I follow the wolf. Though much bigger, Amicus is still just slightly faster than I am as I sprint after him, his thundering footfalls echoing through the halls. He yells back at me as I follow.
What of Cassius?
Poisoned. I don't know what his condition is right now. We reach the ladder, and Amicus somehow climbs the thing with 3 gigantic lunges, skipping several rungs at a time. By the time I reach the top, he's already out of sight.
So now, let this be a warning to Kimia or any other sibling race.
I run out into the gardens, in the direction of the amphitheater. I just catch sight of Amicus's tail as it disappears around some trees, down the trail that leads to where Cato should be.
We will not hesitate to eliminate you if you meddle in our matters.
There's a sense of finality to those words, and I know that we're out of time. I'm on the path to the amphitheater, and though it only takes a few seconds to make it to the end, it feels like an eternity.
You are on the right path.
I burst into the clearing of the amphitheater just as I hear Amicus yell.
Stop!
I look down the steps to see my wolf standing at the base of the stairs, his paws out wide, standing in front of Neferu and Cato. The jackal is knelt on the ground, his paws restrained behind his back, a look of dazed disbelief on his face. He's forced to look up because Cato has a hold of his head fur, tilting the jackal's head up so that his neck is fully exposed. In Cato's other massive paw is a shiny gold decorative dagger, and it's just inches away from Neferu's neck. Meanwhile, directly across from me, sitting in front of the statue of Drusus, sits Virginia, a wreath of flowers on her head, looking shocked as she stares at her brother.
I challenge you, Cato. I challenge you to a trial by combat for the throne, as is my birthright.
It's always been hard to judge Cato's facial expressions, but I can see the tightness in his jaw all the way up here.
Oh?
Cato glances upward, and for a moment I wonder if somehow he knows I'm there, that he can see me somehow. But then I notice the camera drones hovering overhead, broadcasting this to all of Adastra. The entire Empire is seeing this.
Why don't we wait until this is finished, Amicus?
It would be wise to stay your paw, Cato, unless you're afraid you'll lose the trial.
The corner of Cato's scarred eye twitches. I can tell then that Amicus is playing this all up for the cameras, and that seems to settle it for Cato. With a grunt, he pulls Neferu up to his feet by his head fur, making the jackal wince before shoving him toward the front seat, where Neferu slumps down. Then the old wolf walks past Amicus, setting the dagger down on the long, curved bench across the aisle from Neferu.
You know what, Amicus? I think you're right. This is something we should do immediately. We don't want to leave the Empire in limbo for any longer. do we?
Amicus watches the other wolf warily as he walks around him to stand in the center of the amphitheater.
It's best to settle everything as soon as possible.
I know that Cato is referring to all of us. Cassius, Virginia, Neferu, me. And I'm sure Amicus does too, because he glances back up at me for just a moment.
Then let us settle it.
Slowly, I start to make my way down the steps, glancing over at Virginia to see that she's sitting up completely straight, staring at Cato and Amicus, her paws clenched in her lap. I move toward Neferu, who's sitting on the front bench, hunched over a bit, and I can see the metal glinting where his arms are held back.
All right then, trial by combat. Simple Pugnu with no weapons. Just teeth and claws.
Cato stretches.
I'll give you the advantage of sight, Amicus. This should be no trouble for you at all, eh?
Even though that's true, Cato still seems very, very confident. And he has every right to be, considering his skill at fighting, along with the fact that Amicus has been locked up for several days in a cramped cell. He probably only said that to increase the humiliation if Amicus loses. If he dies. It's then that I start to feel the dread and terror begin to poke through the numb shock I've been feeling. But somehow, Amicus looks completely calm, and I take some sort of comfort in that. Quietly, I sit down next to Neferu, and he glances over at me.
Oh, Marco, what brings you here?
Though his words are casual, his usual smug demeanor is gone, practically blanked out as he sits there, slightly hunched.
Are you okay?
The jackal shrugs his shoulders.
Not exactly, no. But I'm alive for the time being, so I suppose I can't ask for much more.
I look back into the amphitheater, wishing that I were able to do something more. I try to catch Amicus's eye, but he keeps his focus on Cato, his own eyes narrowed. He looks confident, prepared, ready for whatever it is that Cato throws at him. But I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all. That brief interaction in the dungeon, those few seconds of holding on to one another, that could be the last time we ever...
Are you ready, Amicus?
Yes.
Then let us begin.
Immediately, the two wolves begin to circle each other, paws raised up to their chests, open and ready. The only difference from past Pugnu fights I've seen is that they're both baring their teeth. Amicus does it in a way I've never seen before, not even when he was furious. It's vicious, feral, like I've seen wolves do in nature documentaries. Then they clash. It's so fast I'm not able to tell who moves first, but one moment they're several feet apart, and the next, their paws are clasped together while their jaws snap in the air, both going for the other's throat. Glistening strands of saliva go flying as they both bite and block with their teeth, ears pinned back, making hoarse, angry barking and growling sounds. It's something I've never seen an Adastran wolf do, not even in their fake dramas. This feels raw and instinctual, like it's part of them, but something they try to conceal, and only bring it up to the surface when they're trying to kill. I find myself hugging my chest, feeling as if my heart might explode as I watch Amicus, trying to see if he's hurt, wincing every time I hear the solid thwack of teeth on teeth. It might only have lasted for a few seconds, I can't tell, but finally Amicus pulls back, and Cato lunges in for his neck. time seems to slow, and for a moment I start to think about what I'm going to do if I lose him. But then Kato, with his open, fang-filled maw, drops down as Amicus sweeps his legs with a powerful kick. Kato goes down hard on his side, right in front of me, wheezing before Amicus jumps on him, landing on the older wolf with his knees and a fist to the face. Kato doesn't even seem to notice that, though, as he immediately grabs onto Amicus, their paws scrabbling at each other as they both try to find a hold. They're at a stalemate for a while, each one failing to find a good grip as they both twist and turn over each other, making snarling sounds all the while. At some point, I have trouble discerning the two, their legs and arms seemingly to blend together as they grip around the other's body. I was never told much about combat to the death, even when I asked Neferu. All I know is that they tend to be very short, but it's already felt like an eternity. Suddenly, I'm able to tell them apart as Kato grips Amicus's right arm into a shoulder lock. While I've seen it done before, usually to get the other opponent to tap out, Kato immediately goes all the way, and the quiet of the early evening is shattered with a massive pop and crunching sound. Amicus screams, and I find myself standing without even realizing it. It takes everything I have not to jump in right now, even as Kato leans into the hold, causing Amicus to convulse from the pain. Then Kato lets go, and my wolf curls over onto his side, shaking violently, loosely holding his arm with his other paw. I want to go to him, but Kato is already there, pushing the younger wolf over onto his back.
I should have done this a long time ago, pup.
Amicus tries to fight back with his good arm, even his legs, trying to lock his ankles around Kato's neck, but the old wolf straddles Amicus's waist before slamming a fist hard into his nose. There's a softer crunching sound this time, and Amicus immediately goes limp, eyes vacant, paw falling to his side. I knew Kato was too skilled for Amicus, but for some reason I thought...
These are the events that shall happen. You are on the right path.
But am I?
Marco!
Neferu whispers hurriedly at me. Kato hits Amicus again, even though the other wolf has stopped moving, and Amicus's body jerks under the weight of the slightly larger wolf.
Marco, you must run! Kato likely does not know you're here!
Amicus's eyes are half closed, unaware for his last moments, as Kato pushes his rear down on the other wolf's thighs, giving himself room to reach Amicus's neck.
Run to the city, to the woods, anywhere.
I shake my head silently. Was this really meant to happen? Why was I put on this path if it ended in my wolf's death? Why aren't the parents helping me? At that moment, the light of the setting sun catches something shiny to my left. I look over, and I'm almost blinded by the brilliant reflection of Vita's light on the blade of the dagger, the one that Kato had set aside after almost executing Neferu. Red and blue jewels decorate the handle, while the gold blade shines brighter than any metal I've seen before. The rules don't matter. Robotically, I lean over the aisle and grab the dagger by the handle.
Marco?
I ignore Neferu, and at the same time, I see Virginia directly across from me. Her eyes are wide, and she's standing too, but instead of looking at the fight, at Kato's jaw coming closer and closer to Amicus's neck, she's instead looking at me and pointing. She's pointing right at Kato, silently encouraging me to do what I'm about to do. But I don't need encouragement. The rules don't matter. I jump from my seat, the distance so little that I come down practically on top of the wolves. At the same time, I raise the dagger in both hands over my head and bring it down as hard as I can into Kato's back. As if in slow motion, I feel the blade slide into my target, very easily at first, like cutting through butter. Then, suddenly, I feel something hard, and there's an odd, muffled, stuttering sound of friction as the blade slows considerably. It continues to sink in, though, in sudden bursts of a few inches at a time, and it's only when the hilt reaches Kato's fur that I realize that I've cut deep into bone. A rib, maybe. Cato howls, suddenly arching back, and I can only hope that I was fast enough that he wasn't able to sink his teeth into Amicus's neck. I'm not finished, though, and I tug once, then twice, before I'm finally able to wrench the blade out of the bone. For that split second, Cato begins reaching back awkwardly, unable to find my weapon before I've drawn it back again, above my head, before bringing it down as hard as I can into the right side of Cato's neck, just at the base. This time, the blade sinks in easily, once again, all the way to the hilt. I yank it back once more, intending on plunging it in again, but finally Cato turns on me, blindly swinging his paw out. His fingers find my right forearm as I'm raising the blade once again, and he takes a tight hold.
Marco!
His exclamation is part astonishment, part fury. His other paw finds the dagger, and even though I try to hold onto it, he slides it out of my hand with ease, even though he's holding onto the blade end. Blood is everywhere at this point, and I can only hope it's only Cato's. I start to back away, trying to look down at Amicus to see what's happened to him, but that's when Cato swings at me again. I feel air tickle my neck and chin, and for a moment I think I've dodged his swing. But then I see that he's holding out the blade, out to his right, after having swung it at me. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. I look down and see a sudden spurt of blood, spattering the stone below me. Then another spurt. Then another. I step back again and gasp, and when I do, it feels like the air comes in from two places at once, and I cough as something liquid goes down my throat the wrong way. Again, I gasp, and this time I hear a bubbling sound from my throat, and I finally understand what's happened as I raise my hand to my neck, stumbling, then falling. I expect to slam back against the stone seats, but instead it's against something furry and warm. I look up and see Neferu sitting over me as he'd moved to catch me with his lap. He's staring at me with a look of horror on his face.
Marco?
He looks up.
Amicus! Amicus! Wake up and help him!
I frown, still worried about Cato, and sure enough, as I look forward, I see the false emperor on one knee, clasping his neck, bleeding just as much as I am. His ears are perked forward, toward Neferu's voice, and I see him start to make his way toward us.
Chemian.
The wolf's eyes are wild, furious, focused in the direction of Neferu. He seems to have already forgotten me, even as he seems to realize that he's dying.
You caused this.
I feel that those words, you and this, carry much more meaning for Cato than I could ever hope to know. It's a strange moment as I lay in Neferu's lap, bleeding out. I suppose I knew Cato blamed the Chemians for most of his problems, for most of the problems in the Empire. He tried to hide it by pretending to give Amicus a fair shot at the emperorship. But as that slowly unraveled, his intentions became clear, and so did his insanity. He intends to kill Neferu, to completely kill any chance of an alliance, even if it means the complete destruction of the Wolven Empire. Somehow, that's a risk worth taking for Cato. The old wolf draws closer, practically crawling now, leaving heavy splatters of blood across the ground. He weakly raises the dagger, and I feel Neferu tense behind me, probably getting ready to roll out of the way. But then something wraps around Cato's neck. With a gargled choke, Cato is pulled back by Amicus before being body-slammed to the ground. Then Amicus is on the old wolf, muzzle against his neck, tearing it apart. I stare in shock, then look down, away from the horror of what I'm seeing. And that's when I see myself, covered in blood. So much blood. My entire naked torso is painted red, and more of it continues to pour over my chest in waves, though it's less than the initial spurts I'd seen when I was standing up. I raise my hands to my neck, still feeling that strange, cold feeling reaching deep into my throat, like everything's open and exposed to the air. I try to talk, to tell Neferu that I need help, but only a raspy, bubbling hiss comes out of my neck. I look up, seeing Neferu looking down at me, his expression, again, one of disbelief. I suppose it would be pretty shocking to see your friend with his neck open, dying in your lap. Am I dying? I try to cover my neck again, but the gash is so deep, it feels like if I lean too far back, my head will just flop over onto my back. Vaguely, I hear Amicus's snarling sounds, along with Cato's raspy screams, sounding just like me when I was trying to talk. The edges of my vision start to go blurry and black, and Neferu's face starts to fade away. Then, suddenly, there's a big shift, and I wake back up, this time finding Amicus looking down at me. An overwhelming sense of relief comes over me. I do get to see my wolf after all. I smile up at him, even as he stares at me with a look of complete and utter devastation.
No, please! Get Felix! Virginia, tell Alex to get Felix!
His tears start to fall on my face, and I reach up, trying to brush them away like he's done for me a few times. He catches my hand before I can, though, pressing it back to my neck.
You'll be fine. You're going to be fine. It's not bad. It's not bad.
I actually chuckle a little at that, because this is very bad. I can tell without even being able to see it. I see the edges of my vision blurring again, and my eyes seem to try and roll upwards on their own. But Amicus gives me a little shake, and that brings me back for a moment.
Hey, stay here, okay? You'll stay with me, yeah?
I nod deliriously, the overwhelming feeling of calm and warmth keeping me happy and full of love, even though I know what's happening, what's about to happen to me. I'm here. I try to speak, but I only send more bubbling blood out of my neck.
No, you don't need to talk. I have you.
How unfair. My last moments, and I can't even tell my wolf that I love him. I reach up with my free hand, setting it gently on Amicus's face. I caress his cheek softly, knowingly, and though he holds it against his face with his own free paw, he shakes his head at me.
Stop that. You're going to be fine. Felix will heal you. We'll rest in my room. I'll take you to the island. I'll take you to the city. We'll be happy. We'll grow old. Together.
The tears start spilling over again, and I just try to keep the smile on my face to show Amicus that I'm okay, that I'm happy, that this is all okay. And though his grief is hard to look at, there's nothing I'd rather be seeing at the end. My wolf's face, framed by the pinkish reds of the sunset. And then, as my eyes start to roll back again, I can't stop them, no matter how hard Amicus shakes me.
Marco? No, please. Don't leave me here. Please, come back to me. You can't leave me to be alone like this.
I'm here.
Oh, no, no. Speak to me.
I'm staying with you. Welcome to the after reading. I don't really have much to say about this episode in particular since it's rather straightforward. Kato was revealed to be the big bad, and then did big bad things. Alex revealed his hand, admitting that his motivation was to sow chaos throughout the Empire to prevent Adastra and Chemia from forming an alliance, and by extension did all the things we suspected him of. That said, there are still a few things I want to say about the parents and how inept they seem to be. I didn't get a chance to cover this in the last after reading due to a real-world time constraint, so I'm gonna do it now. So, I think most of us, including poor Marco, would agree that Wolven society is in dire need of a change. Not just that, but it needs to change in the same way that the parents seem to want it to change. One would assume then that this would put everyone on the same page. However, the way the parents go about trying to make this change happen just doesn't add up. The parents admit that the more they interfere with things, the more things tend to go wrong, yet they are constantly attempting to micromanage Marco through fear in his relationship with Amicus, all to guarantee that he'll work to put Amicus on the throne. Ironically though, Marco was already extremely motivated to make this happen even before Alex's multiple betrayals. And if they were paying any sort of attention, or even had a reasonable conversation with Marco via the monitor instead of implanting scary visions into his head, Marco would probably actually join Amicus in his belief that the parents only want what's best for everyone. But now, because of their meddling, Marco is questioning the motives of the parents, because his motives and their motives were already in alignment. The only reason he has doubts is because the parents put that doubt there in the first place. They have literally interfered to the point that they have created a self-fulfilling prophecy. And now poor Marco can't help but question Amicus's beliefs, the parents' motives, and everything he was already planning on doing. And I'm right there with him. These are not actions taken by benevolent entities. Their methods imply that they're doing good, whatever that means for them, for the wrong reasons. And that's troubling. This is all part of that cosmic horror thing that I bring up from time to time. Being in Marco's position would really suck. And speaking of poor Marco and things really sucking, is Marco really dead this time? I guess you'll just have to find out in the next episode of Adastra. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like, share it with fellow degenerates, and leave a comment for the almighty YouTube algorithm. Until next time, thanks for watching.